friends, regular listeners and newcomers to the program. This is Red Ice Creations Radio. My name is Henrik Palmgren and we are recording from the west coast of Sweden. You can hear us every Thursday and Sunday through our website redicecreations.com. You can follow along in our news section, check out our forum, and for you guys who want to have full access to Red Ice Creations Radio, don't miss out on our subscriber section. All information on how to sign up is available on redicecreations.com. Today we have an interesting program lined up for you. We have author and researcher Jean Matlock with us, who's written a lot about ancient civilizations, history and the origins of religion, and the progenitors, I guess, of civilization. And Jean is behind a number of books, and let me read a few titles here. Jesus and Moses are buried in India, and India once ruled Americas. What strange mysteries unites the Turkish nations, India, Catholicism, and Mexico? A concise but detailed history of things divine and earthly. Also, the last Atlantis book you'll ever have to read, I should say, The Atlantis, Mexico, India, and Christianity, Mankind's First Worldwide Religion, and he has a lot more titles out there, and maybe we can mention a few more of those later on. Jean also has a new book coming out in the latter part of August called Reaching for God, A Valid Science, and we're going to talk a little bit about that today also. And I also hope to dive further into his work and research that connects India, Turkey and Mexico. What's the root of these civilizations, and what is the connection between these? Fascinating material to talk about today. And the website, I guess, that you should take a look at right away for much more of Jean's writing is viewzone.com. That's Viewzone magazine. The address again is viewzone.com, one word. And Jean has a lot of articles up there. The Viewzone magazine has published a lot of his articles throughout the years, and I'll also have that website linked up from our info page so people can find it easily. So with that, let's say welcome to the program, Mr. Matlock. Thank you so much for joining us today.
I'm glad to be here.
Excellent, nice to have you again. Thanks for coming on. There's lots to talk about today. You have written on a lot of different subjects and a wide variety, and the thread that seems to kind of run through it all seems to be about the progenitors of civilizations. But let me begin to ask you, Jean, how long have you been interested in these subjects, and when did you first begin to write about it?
Well, I first started this in late 1970s. I got very concerned about what's taking place between Israel and the Mohammedans, and what's going on over there in Palestine. So I started doing research, and I started out just to find out just where the Jews came from, what Judaism really was, and I ended up 20 years later with a book that here it is right here. Excuse me to the audience for being a little nervous. I'm not used to this.
No problem, Gene. It's I know it's your first time on radio, and we're proud to have you. So it's very, very nice. Go ahead, please go ahead, Gene.
Yes, this book is called Jesus and Moses Are Buried in the Indian Birthplace of Abraham and the Hebrews. Now, when I finished that book, well, I was convinced that I had found out all I could about Jesus. Mm-hmm. And I was convinced also at the time I was what you would call an agnostic. I didn't really believe that Jesus really died on the cross. Mm-hmm. And so I wrote this book, and I thought that I had found out everything I could find. Mm-hmm. But I kept finding out more and more and more. And then I came to the conclusion, after finding out more, that Jesus really did do that. He really died on the cross. Mm-hmm. So I backed up a bit. And then a woman named Suzanne Olsen, who had bought this book, mm-hmm. She got interested, and she decided that she would go off to India and find out for herself, and she went wanting to stay just a few weeks. And she went over there and ended up staying several years. Hmm. And I was convinced, that Jesus is buried over in Kashmir after writing my book. Mm-hmm. And then, but when I wrote the book, as I said, I thought that he had just escaped from the cross and died over there. I didn't know that he had really died on the cross.
Mm.
And so I was 100% convinced that Jesus was buried over there. And when she went over there and stayed several years and ended up with her book, Jesus in Kashmir, The Lost Tomb.
Ah.
Well, and after reading her book, I'm 200%
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, definitely. Well, this is interesting. What in the first place led you to this direction in Kashmir and so forth? How did was there a piece of evidence that came about during your research, or was there a particular book?
Well, I started reading about crucified saviors and all over the world, and I became convinced that this really does happen. Except that we human beings, that we're not advanced enough in our minds to find out just why this has to be so. So I started out being an agnostic, and ended up perhaps believing in Jesus even more than anybody, and that it really happened. And so I've discovered a lot of things about this. And this Jesus and Moses book, it led into more things, and I even found out, and I even today, if you want me to, I will even give proof that even Hitler would not be able to deny that the Jews are the chosen people. Now I'm not Jewish, and I'm not a Mormon or very religious. I'm a Catholic,
Sure.
But I ended up realizing that the Jews are the chosen people, and I have proof of it.
That's interesting.
Of course, they're going to have to share that fame as the chosen people with some tribal groups in India. That's for sure.
Okay, this is very interesting. Why not? We can talk a little bit about that maybe. Well, what makes the Jews the chosen people?
Okay, let me see. I have notes here, and I have some folders, and I am nervous. So when I get this, so I sort of shaking a little bit when I open this. Well,
no problem. We have all the time in the world, and we can just relax and have a nice discussion.
I'm not a young guy. I'm an older man, about 80 years old.
Yeah. And, yes, sir. It's no problem at all. Yeah.
Let me see here. Yeah, here we go. Jesus as the chosen people. Okay. Shall I just, this is in my new book.
Okay.
And I just cut that part out to read to you, and it's going to be an article in ViewZone also.
Okay, excellent.
Shall I start out reading it to you?
Yeah, definitely. Read a little bit about it, and we can talk about it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So as you know, in Genesis, we get to Noah, and that's after the flood, and the people started degenerating. And these people were called Christayas or Christianes. And there were several tribes of them. And the reason why they call themselves Christus or Christianes is because they worshiped the sun god, which was in the form of an eagle. And it went according, to their mythology. This mythological eagle would fly from east to west every day. And but they started to degenerate. They lived for hundreds of years. We call them Hyperboreans. You've heard of the Hyperboreans?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Yeah, and so they start to degenerate in their conduct, and so suddenly some divine forces came to earth to help them out. And the Bible mentions this. The Bible says, when men began to increase on earth and daughters were born to them, the divine beings saw how beautiful the daughters of men were, and took wives from among those that pleased them. The Lord said, my breath shall not abide in man forever, since he too is flesh. Let the days allotted him be 120 years. It was then, and later too, that the Nephilim appeared on earth, when the divine beings cohabited with the daughters of men, who bore them offspring. They were heroes of old, the men of renown. That's in Genesis,
Yeah.
Now, most people can't understand why this passage was placed in Genesis and who the Nephilim were.
Yeah.
The Nephilim descended to earth to plant the seeds of God-men who would, from time to time, reincarnate to lead man on the right path. Now, the word Nephilim has its equivalent both in Sanskrit and Greek.
Mm-hmm.
It's Sanskrit. Now, or Nu, or Na, means ship, boat, knowledge, certainty, the descendancy from Noah or Lord Krishna,
Mm-hmm.
God Shiva, Buddha, or Noah. And the word in Sanskrit, Nabilin, means the starship, the constellation ship.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, in Greek, Nephilim equals Nephilim, meaning the 5 races of Noah, or Nu.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and these 5 races are called Yadu, Turvasa, Druyus, Anu, and Puru.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they were the original Christayas, and who worshiped that ego. Now, the only one that I'll deal with in this today are the Yadu and their companions, the Yadavas.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yadava is a contraction of Yadu plus Deva, meaning the Yadu demigods. It was through them that Lord Krishna, God Shiva, and Buddha came to earth to save mankind from time to time as follows. And here I have the list here.
Mm-hmm.
We start out with the Nephilim or the Navalim, and from there we go to Noah, which they also in India call Manu. And then we get to the son of Noah, Yayati or Japeti. We call in the Bible Japhet.
Mm-hmm.
And then from Japhet or Yayati, you go to Yadu, and from Yadu you go to Yadava, and from Yadava the Jews, because actually the Yehuda, they're actually the Yadavas. Here in the United States, you know, we see them, they have motels and small businesses. They're the Yadavas.
Okay.
So, you stop me whenever you want me. Okay.
Yeah, explain a little bit about that, because I didn't follow you on the last note there when you spoke about these.
Well, you see, the people saw that that mankind was degenerating, and evidently there was somebody up in space that didn't like that. And so they decided they would come down to Earth and regenerate mankind, but they didn't go to all of the 5 Aryan races. We call them Aryans, but they were really, Christayas.
Okay.
And so, see, these 5 races were Yadu, Turvasa, Druyus, Anu, and Puru.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't deal with all of those, the Turvasa, the Druyus, or the Anu, and Puru, these people. They just dealt with the Yadu.
Okay.
And so the Nephilim, or the Navalim, they sort of, I guess, bred with the people of Noah, but principally with what we call Japhet, or Japeti, and the Hindus call it Yayati. And then there's another tribe of people that spread from the Japhet or the Yayati, and they are called the Yadu. And after the Yadu, they are the Yadava, and after the Yadava, they are the Jews, or the Yehuda, and these are the what we would call a sacred race of people, or chosen race of people, and only messiahs can be born from those people that have their genes. This is mentioned even in the Hindu scriptures.
So this is...
And so Yayati, or Japeti, or Japhet, was at one and the same time Jupiter, or Zeus, Vishnu, Lord Krishna, Shiva, and Buddha.
So it's all the same we're talking about here.
Yeah. Actually, in those days, if we went back to those days of Apollo and those other gods, we would find that they were just the same that we have today.
So you mentioned the. I mean, there are so many points here that are interesting to talk further about. You mentioned the Aryans, of course. Could we do like this? Could we tie all of this back to the Nephilim? Are these the root people?
They all go back.